All right, all right, all right. Big up yourself. Big up yourself, kings and queens. Oh, you original kings and queens. Big up yourself. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Big Up YuSelf Show, where we celebrate survivor stories, those healing from trauma, and going on to doing amazing things. I am your host, Winsome Alexander, and I am a self empowerment mentor. I've been certified as one of Texas's most inspiring women, and I'm here to help you take charge and create the person and the life that you were originally created to lead. And more on that later, right? But it is our 17th episode. Yes, 17th episode. We're going places, y'all. Join us. Join us. Subscribe. I'm going to give you 3 seconds to subscribe. I'm going to count down for you. 3, 2, 1. Yay! Thank you for subscribing and turn on that notification bell, right? So you're notified every time we upload a video or go live. And then I want to ask you to comment. Leave a nice, juicy, supportive comment for us, right? And if you don't know what to say, just say wow. By the way, when you comment, YouTube thinks, oh, so people like this, let's recommend it to some other people. And we are, when you like the videos and YouTube sees that you like it, it could be that there are some survivors out there who need to hear what we have to share, right? So your like and your like and your comments could help us reach those survivors, right? So thank you for working with me. Now, I have an incredible guest today. She is a dynamic woman with the energy to match, and I feel like she is pursuing her personal legend, as the alchemist puts it. But I don't think it was always that way for her, right? So let's chat with her. Oh my gosh, you guys, look at this.
Hello, Miss Wissam. How are you?
Yes, I'm wonderful. So nice to see you.
You as well. You as well. You're looking marvelous. Looking marvelous, Queen.
You're not as marvelous as you.
Yes.
Welcome. So, yay. Little special effects here. So I am going to read your bio for the people because it is amazing. Oh my goodness. So impressive. Karen KJ Johnson, you guys, is a talented, let's see. There were some people that said that were going to be joining us. Karen KJ Johnson is a talented and influential personal development expert. She's an inspiring woman empowerment speaker and founder and CEO of The Confident Woman, spelled with a K, right? Teaching women to unlock the essence of their brilliance and develop their executive presence to build self-confidence. We need that.
Yeah.
She currently serves as the executive director for one of the top nonprofit organizations in Dallas, Fort Worth. And that organization is Dress for Success Dallas. Oh my goodness. And she was recently appointed as the program director for National Association of Women Business Owners. What? What? Guys, she graced the August cover of today's Purpose Woman magazine. Look at this. Look at this, you guys. Look at that. Oh my goodness. And then she is currently featured as Miss November in the 2023 Power Purpose calendar.
Yep.
Look at her. Now, KJ was recently awarded the #1 international best-selling co-author for a book titled Future Ready Leaders.
Yes.
Along with 5 other recognitions, which includes reaching the top 100 in books in the United States. Girl, it goes on and on. She has appeared on TV, radio, multiple magazines, and she's done and is doing so much. I feel a lot of vibrant energy emanating from you out of this bio, girl.
Yeah.
Received numerous awards, accolades, and nominations for her work, including being named one of the top 50 powerful women, one of the top 25 global influencer, top 50 powerful women in business to know, top 10 kingdom bosses, influential African-American businesswomen to follow on LinkedIn, and named one of the 25 top purpose-driven women to watch. And that's just to name a few. Oh, that's an amazing bio. It's where you get the energy for all of it. I know we are lucky to have you today with all that you have going on. Oh my gosh, welcome to the show.
Yes, Winsome, thank you so much. It is truly an honor. I tell you, sometimes when I hear that, I'll be like, really?
Right. I know what you mean.
Yes.
I know what you mean.
Yes.
What is that?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. With all that you have going on, I know that it took a little work to carve out the space to be here with us today. And so I want you to know I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Now, as we get started, I don't know if you've watched any of my shows before, but to warm up, I'm curious about people's names.
Sure.
Right? So I want to know about your name, who named you, why they named you that, what do you go by now, all that kind of stuff.
Right. So yes, you know what, and I've never had this question asked, so I do love the question, right? So interesting enough, this is so funny, right? So my mom's name is Goldie, and my dad's name is Harvey. And, she decided that, when she had her kids, she was going to name all of us with K's.
Yes.
Right. So, I have 2 younger sisters named Kayla and Carla. And she had also told us, right, if we had brothers, their name was going to be Kenneth and Keith. Now, we don't know where she got these K's from. But she did tell us that my grandmother actually worked for a family. And one of their daughters' name was Karen. And she named me after her. She thought it was a beautiful name. And so she decided to name all the kids K. So that's where
cool.
I know.
Cool. But you go by KJ. How is that?
Yeah. So I go by KJ. So when I got married, right, my last name became Johnson. And I still wasn't even really like going by KJ, but when I taught in corporate America, one of my students called me KJ, right? And it just kind of stuck. Because my ex-husband, we called him CJ, right? Because his name was Chester Johnson, right? So it just kind of made sense. So it stuck. So I still use it today. In fact, if you ask my mom today, she's like, that's not what I named you. I named you Karen.
But it works. It works for your business. It works for your persona.
Right.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Now, is there any way you could come up higher in the screen?
Is that better? All right.
Better. Wonderful.
Yes. There we go.
All right, cool. So we're going to call you KJ.
Yes.
And we're going to be talking about running from our calling, right? And for you, Life After 50 is here. Terry is here. She says, hello, beautiful.
Hi.
Hi,
hey, love.
Welcome. Now, a calling is a strong inner impulse or a sense of purpose, right? That
Right.
drives us towards a
Mm-hmm.
certain mission.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like what we're destined to be.
Mm-hmm.
I like to say, is what we were originally created for.
Right.
But we take a long time to answer this calling, right? So let's talk about this. Can you share a personal experience
Oh,
or a
sure.
starting point in your own life when you realized that you were running from your true calling, and at what point did you realize you were running?
Yeah, so I love this question because it is truly part of my story of why even the confident woman even started. But I'll tell you, right, it was probably over 30 years ago or more. My very first corporate job, right, I like to say, right, because I taught sales,
Yes.
right. And so my very first class, I recall a young lady, right, and let me just say this, my classes at the time
Mm-hmm.
was 3 months long, right? So I worked for a company that most of you have heard, right, called Verizon. And
Yes.
at the time, it was GTE, right? So GTE and Bell Atlantic merged to become Verizon. So I worked for GTE and Verizon. But anyway, my very first class, right, I was actually speaking, right, and teaching, and boom, boom, boom. And it was time to go on a break. And one of the students came up to me and spoke very prophetic, right? And said, KJ, I see you on the stage speaking to millions. And the way that she said it scared me to death.
Yes. Yes. I can imagine.
Right. And so I'm telling you, like for the rest of the 3 months, I ran from her. So, like every time it was time to go to break, every time it was time to go to lunch, I was running to the teacher's lounge. Like I was running because I didn't like, because it was the way she said it. I knew that it was a message from God.
Uh-huh.
Right. Now, Wilson, this is what I did, right? Because I knew that my gift from God was teaching, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
so I was like, no, 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 no. I'm teaching. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, right? So I justified her message by telling myself that, okay, so I'm teaching these classes. I'm usually having 30 to 40 people in the class. And so what I said, right, was over the years of me teaching these classes, it would equate to millions, right? So
Okay.
that's
Okay.
that's how I justified it in my mind, you know.
Okay.
And and this went on like for years. I'm talking like over 20 years. Like I ran from my purpose, right?
Yes.
And I was at my last corporate job again teaching, right? Because I knew that's what I was supposed to be doing. And a young man, we got ready to go on break, and he's actually a minister. And he said, KJ, you know you're supposed to be on a bigger stage, right? And I said, Fred, this was so funny. I said, Fred, if you don't go to the little boys' room,
Wow.
get your snacks, right, and get back to my class on time, because you know the repercussions if you're late coming back to my class. And he said, all right, KJ, I'm going to do that. He said, but I'm actually going to call Dr. Reuben West. And I said, Fred, no, don't do that. And he said, yeah, KJ, I'm going to do that. Now, let me tell you this. Who is Dr. Reuben West?
Right.
Dr. Reuben West was mentored by the Les Brown.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And
Okay.
he is a phenomenal, phenomenal speaker. Like he really is. And so every year he would have 2 conferences in which he would teach people how to speak, how to get up on stages, right, and become right
Wow.
that international speaker. So against everything that I had told Fred, Dr. Reuben West called me that evening. And when he asked the question that everybody asks, right, which is, tell me a little bit about you, right?
Right.
And usually as women, we downplay who we are,
Yes. Right.
right?
Do
So
that.
I said, you know what? I'm just a little country girl from Dallas. right? But he took it one step further. He said, well, tell me about the country girl from Dallas. Like, so he took my words.
No
It was right. So, I just told him a little bit about, what I do, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden he says, well, I tell you what, I just finished having my conference. In 6 months, I'm having the next one. So I want you to come and be one of my speakers.
Just like that.
Just like that. And that's what I said. So watch this. Dr. Reuben West.
The person who's teaching people to speak wants you to come and speak at his thing.
Correct. Now, here's the deal. He had never had anybody to even come in and speak on his stage. He did it always himself. And so now here he is asking me to come. Watch this. He had never heard me speak. He had never seen videotapes of me or nothing. He had never seen me. Right?
What?
Yes. And so I'm asking him, hey, do you want me to send you a videotape? And he said, no. I said, do you want me to send you curriculum? And he said, no. I need 2 things from you. I need a headshot, a bio, and I'll see you in 6 months.
Wow.
Now imagine the fear.
I can imagine.
Yes. Because all of this time I had ran from this, and now here it was right in my lap. So the question, right, was, are you going to do it? Right? Or are you going to continue to run? Right? And sure enough, I went, got a standing ovation, right?
Wow.
When it was over. Yeah. And right after that, the Spirit of the Lord began to move. And a young lady got up and prophesied, and she pointed at me and she said, KJ, God told me to tell you that in a year, your business is going to blow up.
Oh my goodness.
All on finally obedience.
Obedient.
Yes. Yeah. So I tell people that story all the time. I ran from my purpose, my calling for over 25 years.
Because
I knew.
Years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Because I knew that I was operating in my gift, right?
Yes, yes.
But the issue was I wasn't on purpose.
Was not on purpose.
Yeah.
Operating in the gift, but not on purpose.
Yeah.
So this running that we do, right? I don't know if you've heard of the Jonah Complex.
Oh, yeah.
Jonah Complex is a psychological concept that is based on that biblical story of Jonah. You remember when Jonah tried to run away from God and his true calling? God had called him to deliver a message to the people of Nineveh. And instead, he made up excuses and went into hiding, pretty much like what we do, right?
Yep.
So the Jonah Complex refers to the fear or resistance people sometimes feel when faced with their true calling or potential, that fear that you experience. And we gotta validate that fear, right? We gotta validate that fear because it's scary. It's scary stuff.
It is. Yeah.
And it's a big responsibility to take on your destiny.
It is. Yes.
It's a big responsibility. Just imagine this for a second, right? Imagine the great creator of this vast universe, right? Is calling you to co-create something with him that only you have been assigned to do.
That's right.
If you don't do it, it can't be done.
That's right.
Right?
Yep.
And you stand to throw the whole universe off balance if you don't do it.
In fact, I tell people, right, that God has assigned a group of people to us. And when you don't show up, you cause those people to remain wandering in the wilderness. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Exactly. And that's why the pull is so great.
Yeah.
Right? That's why God's pursuit of you in the way of your calling is so relentless. Right? You can't escape it without feeling uncomfortable or feeling out of sync with the universe.
That's right.
You'll always be off balance, and so will the universe. The universe itself will be off balance if you are not operating in your calling.
That's right.
God literally needs us to do our part in creation, and that's a scary revelation.
It is.
So we Try to avoid pursuing our calling due to the fear of responsibilities, the uncertainties, or changes it might entail. But this inner conflict can cause missed opportunities for personal growth and fulfillment. Right?
Yes.
And by the way, guys, Jonah eventually answered his calling because there was no way around it.
Right, because the people, right, when he ran, right, notice what happened, right? The storm came.
Yeah,
right? So the boat, so the people that not only will your life suffer, but the people around you will suffer as well. And Jonah knew that he was the reason. He even told the people to throw him right over the boat. And they were just like, no, we're not going to do that. But finally they did, because as long as you are out of sync, right, and thinking, because let me be clear, thinking you're hiding from God, because there's nowhere you can go, right, and hide from God. Jonah went 25,000 miles in the opposite direction of where God told him to go.
Unbelievable. That's what we do. Right. That's what we do.
Right. And justify it, just like I did, right? I was justifying it, right? Because here's the thing, Winsome, the reason why a lot of people, so two things, right? One, people are always chasing purpose. But I tell people to stop chasing purpose, right? The key is for you to operate in your gift. So notice what I was doing. I was operating in my gift. I knew what my gift was, but I was still stuck because I was teaching, but that's not how God wanted me to teach. Right? You see what I'm saying? So you can get caught up into, right? And so I tell people, and people always say, right, what is your gift? Right? So I'm gonna give you an acronym for the word gift. Gift simply means God's inner fruit transformer. Right? So what does that mean? That means if you utilize the gift that he's given to you, right? And what's your gift? Guys, let me help you today. You did not go to school for your gift. You already knew how to do it, right? And that's your gift, right? And so we get caught up on that because we think we got to go to school, Now, don't get me wrong. You can go to school. You can even get your gift enhanced, right, to learn more about it. But I need you to understand you already know how to do it. And the reason why we say that can't be the gift, because it's so easy. They're like, there's no way that's my gift because it's so easy. And we think it's supposed to be complicated. Right. But check it out. There's nothing complicated about God.
That's right. That's right. And that's why we think we're looking for some great big thing. It could be just, it's right there in front of you.
Right.
Terry says the message is right on time. All right.
Oh, that's
Terry,
awesome, Terry.
Now, so many people struggle to identify their true calling, right? How can individuals distinguish between a genuine calling and other external influences or distractions?
Look, I'm gonna tell you, it's easy. It's real easy.
Yeah.
Because your gift and calling is like something in your stomach that knots up. Like you can't get rid of it. Like you think about, right? But the other stuff, it'll come, right? Oh, that's exciting. Like somebody will tell you about something. Oh, girl, you probably should start, I'm going to make up something, right? A nail shop. Yeah. Oh, right. You should start a nail shop, right? Yeah. And you say, oh my God, oh yeah, I should, And watch this. The next day, you on to something else.
Yes, that's true. That's true. That's true. But the thing you're supposed to do won't let you go.
Won't let you go. Right. In fact, Wilson, you find yourself doing it always. Like I'm always teaching. I'm always speaking. So it's just natural for it to happen. Like I'm not even trying. Right. So I need people to understand that your gift comes very natural because God gave it to you. Right. When you was born, in fact, he gave it to you before you was born, right? And so one of the things that we struggle with is, because I talk about this, owning and embracing truly who you are.
Yes.
Right. So
yes.
Yeah, because so many times, right, we're trying to people please.
Yes.
And sometimes we don't realize that though, but anytime you're trying to do everything your mom and dad say, brothers and sisters, you don't want nobody to say nothing negative about you, right? And I always remind people, right, y'all, they talk bad about God. They talk, right? So I don't know why we think that we get to be
Right.
excused.
Right. Right.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and if you're not making rumblings, right, then you need to go back and check yourself, right? Because when you're doing what God has called you to do, somebody gonna talk about you.
Oh yeah. Yes. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Wow. Right. So yeah. So then a lot of us are afraid, right?
Oh yeah.
And we come upon some obstacles.
Mhm.
What Let's talk about some of the common fears and obstacles that prevent people from pursuing their calling and
Sure.
how they can overcome these challenges.
Yeah. Yeah. So one is really your own self-doubt.
Yes.
Right. There's actually 4 areas, right, that I tell you that your fear really comes from, right? So one, your own self-doubt. So just doubting your own ability, right? You know you can teach, you can sew, you can, do parties well, like whatever it is, but you don't want to go bigger than that because somebody, right, eyes will be on it, and then therefore what happens? Judgment happens. And we fear of being judged, right? So so that's part of it, right? So the other one is what society says.
Yes.
Right? So society says women should, right, be seen and not heard. Right? How many times we heard that?
Right.
Little girls are supposed to be dainty, not making a lot of noise, all of those things, right? So you get caught up into what society says women should be, and then therefore I always say you shrink yourself.
Yes.
Right, from really being who you are. The other one is family and friends. Again, if you tell family and friends, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, or I really believe I should be doing this, they be saying, girl, no, you can't do that, go sit down.
Right.
Girl, no, you can leave your corporate job. What you talking about? Like, so it's that, and those things set in fear. Right.
Yes, exactly.
And then another one too, when I talk about really is our religious affiliations. So sometimes, we hear things. I remember when, I was raised Pentecostal, right? And got saved at the age of 13. We couldn't wear makeup, we couldn't wear pants, we couldn't wear jewelry. Like, we had all of these restrictions on him, but there's nothing in the Bible that tells us we can't wear those things, right? It just says be modest, right? And not go overboard. But those things were shared with us. And so because of those beliefs, right, those things are still etched and ingrained in us. And a lot of times we don't realize that decisions we make is based off all of that, right? Because we're trying to stay safe, right? In other words, in our comfort zone, right? And so it feels good here, right? And I always tell people, right, I want people to kind of think about why staying stuck, right, in your comfort zone is a danger, right? It's no differently than a woman who is being domestically violated by her spouse. Okay. And sometimes we wonder, why don't they leave? Why didn't they leave? Or what's the issue, right? Because they're scared. They don't know nothing else, right? And so sometimes people say, well, I already know what this pain is, right? And so I've dealt with it before, so I'm going to stay right here. So staying in your comfort zone is the exact same thing. It's the exact same thing, right? Because you know what I'm saying? So I don't know what that's going to be out there. If I go do that, so it scares you so that you just stay in the same rut that you're already in. Right. And so I tell people all the time, especially Terry says she was raised Church of God in Christ too. Yes. Right. So, I tell us all the time, right. As you got to, at the end of the day, because us church folks, right? We love to say this. I'm waiting on God.
I know, right?
I'm waiting on God. And I tell us all the time, you're not waiting on God. God is waiting on you. Because he's already ordained it right from the beginning of the earth, right here.
Already done it.
So it's he's waiting on you, right? And guess what? He's not going to take his 2 steps until you take your 1. And that's the reason why I tell you, stop chasing purpose. Just simply do your gift. Operate in your gift. And when you operate in your gift, purpose is going to show up. But the key is then you got to be doing the very thing that the gift is. Right. You may not like my story, right? I wasn't on purpose, but I was operating in gift. You understand what I'm saying? Right. And purpose still showed up. Right. So it's critically important that we understand to operate in our gift. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
And And those fears. I want to talk about some more of those fears, because some of us fear success.
Oh yeah.
And that's one thing, and imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome will keep you tied to your comfort zone, make you scared to follow your calling. Also fear of failure. Afraid of failure.
And I'll tell you this, right? So sometimes people question, why would anybody be fearful of success?
Right.
Because that seems crazy. Like, why would you be scared of success? And the reason why you'd be scared of success, because now it calls, right, for you to be more present. Now it calls for you to have to do more. Now it calls that you truly got to stay outside of your comfort zone. You can never be like a snail, right, that has a shell and goes back into the shell, right? Once you out, right? Ooh. And then you see what I'm saying? And then that calls for a whole nother level of who you are.
Yes.
Right. And that's the reason why when we tell you you're afraid of success, because that's what it is. Because guess what? I always tell people, you never arrive. You'll never get to a point where you arrive and it's done. Right? Because until God take us home, you always got something to do. Right. Yeah, there's always a soul, right, that needs to come to Christ. So it's never over. Right. And so that's it. And then failure, that's natural. But I like to use this. I like to say that it's not failure. I like to say that you fail. You just simply fell down.
You fell down. Okay.
And so think about that, right? When you was learning to ride a bike or learning to walk, right? All of those things. What did you do? You fell down. But you got back up. Right? And so, and that's what God wants us to do. You got to get back up, right? So you can't get to the point to where you scrape your knee and you say, oh my God, I'm never going to do that again, right? Because you can actually look at the scrape on your knee and know that you're going to be okay. Like you didn't die from the scrape on your knee, right? It serves as a reminder that you're going to be okay, but you got to keep fighting. And the very thing too, if you remember why you do what you do.
Yeah,
right? Because it's never about you.
True.
Right. There's a bigger purpose, right? And so again, if you remind yourself, it's 2 things, right? You should always, 1, you're doing it for the Lord, right? Period. Squad. And number 2, right? There are people depending on you. There are people depending on you. You don't know who they are. You don't know who they are, but they're depending on you, right? And that's why I always say it's so critically important, right? Because if you don't do what you're supposed to do, they remain wandering in the wilderness, right? And I always like to tell this story, right? Just to kind of give people a perspective, right? The children of Israel wandered in the wilderness for 40 years. Guess what? The trip that they were taking was a 30-minute trip, right? Understand this. They simply was traveling from Dallas to Fort Worth. Dallas to Fort Worth, but it took them 40 years. My son is 38 it ain't quite 40 years yet, right? You see what I'm saying? Like, that's a long time to just be wandering in between those 2 points. So I
Wow.
always tell people that when you don't show up, truly own and embrace who God has created you to be, the very people that he has assigned to you remains wandering in the wilderness,
Yes. Yes.
right? You got to show up.
Yes.
Right. And that's what a lot of times we don't realize, right? Because we don't see who those people are. Right. And a lot of times we think those people are in our family. Can I help you today? They're not. Right. Most of them are not in your family. Right. It's somebody out on your job. It's somebody, right, that you're supposed to be starting a business. It's somebody that you're supposed to be partnering with. Right. It's outside of that, because we get so caught up into, right, watch this, wisdom, like in church. Right. Most people, right, if you say they go there, the members of the church, right, they already maybe kind of doing what they should be doing, but it's the people outside that needs to come to Christ. Right. So we get caught up in, that's where we need to be, is on the outside, right, bringing folks in. And if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, they remain lost.
They remain lost. And this brings me to another point too, that keeps us from answering our calling, comparing ourselves to others.
Oh, it's the death. Yeah, absolutely.
And envy.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And that will definitely shut you down, because we got to understand everybody has a different purpose. Everybody has a different gift. Right. Everybody has a different calling. And the key is for you to stay focused on your lane, on your gift. Right. And you can't do that, because if you do, you'll just remain in your comfort zone, and you'll never do what Christ has called you to do. Right. And we hear all the time that there are so many gifts and talents that is in the cemetery. So many people never utilize their gifts. Right. Yeah. So, and I tell people too, you hear this all the time, right? But it's so true. And at the end of the day, if what you're supposed to do touch one person.
Yes.
But here's the deal. It's going to touch more than one. But if it's just one, right? And to know that you've done what Christ has called you to do, it can't be no better than that.
What you are created to do.
Exactly. And then you feel so much better too. You know what I'm saying?
This is the thing, because you're going to be depressed and stressed out and frantic and confused as long as you are not in your calling.
That's right. That's
always.
Right.
So your mental health and your well-being depends too upon you answering that call. I can imagine the anxiety that Jonah was going through when he was running.
Right? You know what, too? And I tell us too, right? I mention this all the time, that a lot of the children of God, right? We are the poorest people on the planet.
Sad.
And our Father has it all, right? So what's the issue? The issue is you're not owning and embracing who God has called you to be. Right. You're not getting out of your comfort zone and truly, right, doing what he's called you to do. Because at the end of the day, he wants his children to have what he has.
He does.
Right.
And he gave us these gifts.
Absolutely.
And it tells us in the word that the gifts he gives us will make room for us.
Absolutely.
So as long as we're not using them gifts, we stand a chance to be in lack. And it's again, like the alchemist said, life is truly generous to those who pursue their personal legend, right?
That's it.
Life takes care of you. The universe is set up. God set it up so that you'll be taken care of once you are using those gifts that you were blessed with.
That's right.
So this answering the calling is it's major. It's major. You really can't escape it and be comfortable.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I love that. Yes.
Okay. So now let's talk about some practical steps and strategies for our listeners who want to start aligning their lives with their true calling but don't know where to begin. And I have a list, but I'm going to let you go first.
Well, you know what? I always tell everybody that I truly believe that you know what your gift is. You're
Yeah.
just choosing not to use it.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So if you're struggling with that, I just tell you, right, to definitely get you some quiet time, sit. And again, I'm not saying don't pray, but at the end of the day, I believe you already know if you need to pray, do that. Right. But at the end of the day, you need to write down those things that you are good at, that you did not have to go to school for, that you didn't have to take a class for. What are those things that you are naturally good at, that people come to you all the time, right, asking you about this, right? It could be that as well. But you need to write those down. And then you need to start operating in that,
Yes.
right? Now, sometimes it's challenging, right? Because you could have several gifts, right? So I'll
Right.
use me as an example, right? So I have a thing, right? I can do interior decorating. I didn't
Yes.
go to school for it, right?
Yes.
And I even at one time, like, I'm gonna be an interior decorator. I was in a store one time and this lady asked me a question and she hired me on the spot. Yeah, to decorate her house. So naturally you would think, oh my God, this is what I want to do, right?
Yes.
I love
Right.
it, right? But as time went on, I wasn't really interested in it. I love it, but I don't
Yes.
love it to the point to where I'm thinking about furniture and wallpaper,
All the
right,
time.
and accessories all the time.
Right. Right.
Right. So you know that, right? Because it's really down to what is that thing, what is that gift that you are using every single day or that you love, even because sometimes, right, we have a job, we can work, right, went to school for something else and do our work. But then when you come home, you
There's
find
that
yourself,
thing
yeah,
that you
there's
love.
that thing, right?
Let me ask Terry. Let me
Yes.
ask Terry. If
Yes.
Terry, what can you identify as one of your gifts? Put that in the chat for me. What is your gift?
She said, oh my God, I'm being put on
I
the
know, I
spot.
know, I know. That's tough for her. Oh my God. So yeah, so you mentioned the first thing that was on my list, which was to reflect on your interests, your passions and values
Yep.
and things. Identify your strengths and talents and what you're naturally good at. You said that.
Yep.
Be true to your own passions, no matter how
What?
different it looks from other people's. A lot of us go after things because it looks good on that person,
Right.
right? And
Right.
that was not probably not meant for us.
Yeah. In fact, that's a big one, Winsome, because that gets a lot of people stuck because you see, right, you can see a woman doing this, woman doing that, and not necessarily that is envy, but it's like, oh my God, I would love to do that. Right.
Yeah.
Or you see, and then you see somebody else, oh, I wish I had thought about that. Right. So it's all of those things, and
Yeah.
it's none of those things.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Right. Because that's what a lot of times get people caught up as well, just seeing the goodness of what other people are
Other
doing, and
people.
then you want to tag along, right, and do that. But I always remind you that your journey is so different from
Yes.
anybody else's journey.
Yes.
Even if, right, your gift is teaching, right? Because you could have the gift of teaching. I have the gift of teaching. But what I'm going to be teaching about or doing is going to be totally different than what you're going to be teaching
Yeah.
about or doing.
Yeah.
Right? You see what I'm saying?
You do
Yeah.
it. It's going to be different from somebody else.
So I always tell people that, you know, before Starbucks, you're like, nothing existed. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Starbucks came up with their thing, right?
Yeah.
Chick-fil-A came up with their thing. Walmart came up with their thing.
Yeah.
Right. So you got to understand that even though there's a lot of fast food restaurants, right, none of them are the same, right, in their delivery of food or what they cook or how they cook it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You see what I'm saying? So that's the reason why it's so critically important that you understand that the thing that you're supposed to be doing, it doesn't exist to a certain degree. Yeah.
Terry says her gifts are planning, organizing, creativity, teaching, and leadership. Look at that.
Yes, I love it.
All
what
of
is
that
Miss Terry doing today? Ask
Oh.
Terry, what does she do for a living? What does she do?
I think she's Terry. What do you do for a living? I think she is a project manager.
Oh, Okay. Okay.
So I think that's the last
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so we want to be true to our own passions, and then we want to set clear goals and define those goals in a clear and concise statement and be
Mm-hmm.
specific, right? Got to
Yep.
be specific about the goals,
Absolutely.
and then break them down into smaller actionable steps, right?
That's
And
right.
then take the action.
Which is the most important part.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, she says she manages a project management
Yep.
office. Okay,
Yep. Planning
got
and
it.
organization, right on it.
Yes, yes, exactly. So Terry, it sounds like you are operating in your gift,
Mm-hmm.
in
It
your
sounds like it.
calling. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what
I
was the
love
last
it.
one? Oh, take action. Right.
Oh yeah. No, because that, yeah, at the end of the day, right, and Terry know this, right? You can plan all day, right? Plan all day, got it all laid out. But until you take action, the strategy will never come to fruition.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's what we get stuck up on, right? We do all the planning and all of the planning and all of that, and then we don't execute.
We don't
Right.
execute.
Yeah. And
Yes,
that's the most important part. And that's the part that's scary for most, is the execution. Yeah.
that's
So you got
true.
to do that.
That's true. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, the execution hold us back, hold us back. And
Yeah.
see now, the more action that we take, the more opportunities open up for us,
Absolutely.
right? Mhm.
Absolutely. And then the more, right, that you can learn, right? So for example, I have an event coming up next Saturday, right? And it's, I mean, I don't want to say maybe it's my first time to do it, but it's the first time to do it on this scale, right? Am I nervous? Doggone right. Am I scared? Doggone right. Am I excited? Doggone right. Like, it's all of right. I was telling my son earlier today, I said I have all the emotions,
Yes.
right? But I know that I'm not doing it for me. I'm
Mhm.
doing it for the attendees, right?
Mhm.
Because I do believe that somebody's going to get a breakthrough,
Mhm.
right? You see what I'm saying? And so, yeah, I was, the other day, I was like, oh, can I cancel?
Oh, I know that feeling. I know that feeling.
Can I
I
just
almost wanted
cancel
to
and,
cancel
right,
this today.
right, and pay a fee and just be done? You know what I'm saying? But I know that that's the enemy, because that's what he
Yes.
wants.
Yes.
Right. That's what he wants. He
Right.
wants you to quit. Right. And that's the thing too. And when you begin operating in gift and doing right what God has called you to do, the enemy is coming even more so, right,
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
against you,
Mhm.
because he don't want you to get it.
Right.
Right.
He does
Right.
not.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
going to fight even harder. Yeah.
Yeah. Because he's the opposite of everything that God stands for.
That's right.
So another point is that we should seek mentorship and guidance,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? Keep us on
Yep.
track. And speaking of a little segue, if you guys who are watching, you need an accountability partner, or you need some mentorship for self-empowerment and answering your calling, email me. Here is my email address. Let me put it up
Yeah.
here. Um, email me. We can set up a one-on-one and we can talk about, getting you on track and staying on track.
Yep.
Okay. And then you want to be persistent and at the same time be flexible.
Yeah. Which is
But
hard. Which is
yeah,
hard. Yeah. That's
yeah,
hard.
because you're going to come upon some obstacles. You don't know which way the wind is going to blow, and you want to be flexible so that if the wind does blow hard or you come upon some disappointments and some failures, you
Mm-hmm.
won't break. You will bend with the wind, but you won't break.
Yep.
So you want to be flexible.
Yeah.
And know that it's a journey that will continue to evolve over time. So stay open to new revelations, right? And continue to refine your path as you gain clarity and experience.
Yeah.
We are talking about following
Stop running
our
from your calling.
up running from our calling. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? So I'm gonna say a little bit on that, right? Because sometimes that's hard, right? So being consistent, but then you need to yet remain flexible, right? And so one of the things I always like to encourage people, if you do something one time and you fall, it doesn't mean that you're not supposed to do that very thing, right? So you got to go back and really truly do a SWOT analysis, right? What was the strengths of it? What was the
Yeah.
weaknesses of it, right? What was some additional opportunities, right? And what was the threats, right? So you
Yeah.
really got to kind of look at it, right? Because sometimes too, you may have to do it 10 times before it's what it's supposed to be, right? You see what I'm saying? And so not
Oh,
totally give up on the thing, right? And truly, you got to, and that's the reason why a mentor or coach is so important
yeah.
as well. But the biggest coach and the biggest mentor, right, is God. So
Yeah.
you got to make sure, right, that it is truly in alignment with what He's called you to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the
Mm-hmm.
key, right? So sometimes that is scary. Oh, okay, well, that ain't it. And then you go out and get something totally new, and that wasn't the answer. The answer was there were some tweaks that maybe needed to happen over here,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
just want to, share that with people, because sometimes they abandon what God has given them so quickly because they're thinking, oh, well, maybe that's not what He's called me to, right?
Right.
And it is. You just may need to do some tweaks.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think we kind of touched on this part
Uh-huh.
earlier. Sometimes pursuing one's calling can be met with resistance or skepticism from friends and family. How can we navigate these external pressures while staying true to our path? Them friends and
Well,
family.
you know what? So I'm gonna tell you, right, and I've shared my own story, right? At the end of the day, um, you can hear what they say
Yes.
and say, I hear what you're saying,
Yes.
right? And I appreciate your concern for me, right? But I got to do this.
Yes. Yes.
Right. I mean, it is what it is, right? And I always tell people all the time, right? At the end of the day, your family and friends, they love you. They really
Yeah.
do. And you got to also realize that the vision that God gave you, He didn't give them, which
Right.
means they can't see what
Right.
God has given you, right? So you got to respect what they're saying to a certain degree, right? And say, "Hey, I hear what you're saying," because
Right.
they're looking through a totally different set of eyes,
Yes.
right? So
Right.
I mean, that's all they can see. But you got to be okay with that, right? Because sometimes what happens too is that we want family and friends to support us in everything that we're doing,
Mhm,
right?
mhm,
And
mhm,
that won't always be the case.
mhm,
It just
mhm.
won't. And if you look at any uh, any individual in the Bible, it was a lot. People was by
A
themselves, right?
lot of
Family said,
resistance.
hey, like Lot turned around. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, you can't
Yeah.
turn around. You got to keep moving forward, right? So, and then just know this too. Everybody can't go with you, right? You still
Yes.
can love, you can still respect, you still have fun, like you can do all those things. They just can't go with you, and you got to learn to be okay with that.
With that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's hard. It is, right? I've cried, had some, you know, you know, a lot of nights didn't sleep, right? But I knew that I was doing what God has called me to do, and at the end of the day, that's the most important thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Right.
it's hard. It's not easy, right? Just know that they love you, right? But they're looking at things through a different lens,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And again, you can hear what they say.
Yeah.
There's no arguments needed or anything like that, and say that I understand, but you know what? I
Yeah.
got to do this, and you got to stay focused,
Yeah.
right? And laser focused, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
y'all do know that the enemy will use your family as distractions,
Oh,
right? So,
absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. And then that comes to my next point, which is to
yeah.
set boundaries.
Oh,
Boundaries while
mhm,
you are, these people are expressing their concerns.
yeah.
Um, while you should be open to feedback, set boundaries regarding the influence of others on your decisions, because
Mm-hmm.
ultimately the choice is yours, and it's essential to prioritize your own well-being
Yeah.
and happiness.
Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. And I'll tell you a little bit about that, and then I want to address Terry's statement in the
Yeah.
comment section. Right, is so guys, when you're setting boundaries, this is the deal. You're setting boundaries for you, not the other people, right?
Right.
So I need y'all to hear me today, okay? So if you say that between 1 and 3 is the time that you're going to be working on your book, that you're going to be writing your book, okay? So if somebody calls you, see, they don't know that you're doing that. They may or may not know that you're doing it. And they call you between 1 and 3, what is it that you should do? Not answer your phone,
That's right.
right?
That's right.
But what we do is we answer the phone,
Answer the
right?
phone.
And
Mhm.
then we're mad because, oh my God, I had this time set aside. Well, but you the one stepped over your boundary line. They didn't know,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
And don't think you need to answer the phone to say, hey, you know what? This is my time that I'm writing on my books. You ain't got to do none
No,
of that. Just don't answer the phone. You got
just don't
voicemail.
answer the phone.
Right, right. And so that's what boundaries is all about. If you're in a meeting or whatever the case may be, and you're working from home, right, and your kids, like, they're not supposed to come into your office, right? And so if they do come, don't say, oh, babe, you go. The boundary has been broken. Like, no, go back out, close the door. Because I told y'all, unless the house is on fire,
Right? Don't
right?
come knocking.
Somebody bleeding, like, no, do not come in here, right? So it's up to us, right, to make
Maintain our
sure,
boundaries.
right, yeah, on the boundaries, right? So
Mhm.
that's the key, right, when it comes to that.
Yeah.
Terry mentioned right about, sometimes it's difficult to stay motivated when the excitement wears off. And so, Terry, I'm gonna tell you this, is that when you're operating in gift and when you on purpose, your excitement will never wear off.
Mm-hmm.
It'll never wear off,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So if that's happening, right, you may want to kind of go back and kind of think about, are you doing something that maybe you really wasn't excited about it anyway from the
Yeah.
beginning,
Yeah.
but you was doing it because somebody asked you to do it, or it was,
Mhm.
because I need us to understand too, and I'm gonna tell you about me. It's hard for me to say no. It
Mhm.
really is, right? So if somebody is
Mhm.
asking me to do something, if I can do it, I want to do it. But that's
Mhm.
going back to those boundaries too, right? But here's the deal. You can't say, yeah, I'm gonna do it, right? And then you do it, but then you mad doing it. Dog.
Right. Right. And I see that so often. I see so many people do that.
Right,
Doing the thing that they're mad about doing because somebody
right,
asked them. Come on
right.
now.
Yeah.
We
So
talked about authenticity a couple weeks ago. That's exactly it.
right,
Be authentic.
right. So Terry, I would tell you that if you're operating in gift right now, it could be right. So watch this, Terry. It could be you're operating in gift, but not on purpose yet, right? Hadn't quite got purpose yet. So right, you may feel like the excitement is wearing off because you're not actually on your purpose, right? But your gift is legit. So that's the thing you got to remember too, right? So like for me, my gift, right, I talked about teaching. Man, look, I got to the training rooms way before anybody, and I was the last person to leave. You know what I'm saying? So my excitement never wore off because I loved what I was doing. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
So kind of think about that, Terry. And if we need to kind of talk more, right, we can definitely do that. But your excitement would never wear off on your gift or your purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, she said that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense. Okay,
And I
yeah.
feel like it's okay to be tired too.
Yes, which is
It's okay.
different. Which is
Yeah,
different.
different. Yes,
Yeah,
you can take a break.
yeah,
You can, recoup. You
yeah,
can rejuvenate.
yeah,
But the excitement should still remain.
yeah.
Mhm.
Because at the end of the day, right? So think about this too, Terry. And I tell people all the time, you got to have hope, right? So if you lose hope and you lose excitement, you got nothing.
Mm.
right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So that's the thing. So, and especially when you think about it's your God-given gift, and your gift is going to touch those, right, that God has assigned to you. You would never get weary, tired, or anything, right, as it relate when I talk about excitement around that. You know what I'm saying? Now you'll get tired if you've been up, like, you know, KJ done did some 14-hour days, da da da. Yeah, I'm physically tired, right? I'm physically tired, but I'm not
Right.
tired, right?
Right.
So I just want
Right.
to make sure that we understand the difference between that. Because
Mhm.
like you would be jumping up ready to go. Like I tell people, like, I don't need coffee, right? I drink coffee because I was raised in a household of coffee drinkers, but I don't need coffee for my energy. I'm
Oh
automatically, like,
my
when I
amazing.
wake, yeah, I'm
That
on,
is amazing.
yeah, I'm automatically on a high, right?
Oh
And in
my
fact,
God.
the mantra that I live by, right, Winsome, is I tell people that when I wake up in the morning, I put my feet on the floor, I look forward for the enemy to say, crap, KJ is up. Right? So I live by that. Yeah.
Oh my God. That's so cool. That's so cool.
Yeah.
So what
Yeah.
Carrie said, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got
She
it.
said it makes sense.
Okay.
All right. Cool. 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 Awesome.
And
All
then we
right.
want to seek supportive allies, right? We
Mm-hmm.
want to surround ourselves with people who support our goals and aspirations,
Yeah.
and seek out mentors, like-minded individuals, or support
Mm-hmm.
groups who can offer guidance and encouragement.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah, and that's
we
critically important too, you know, to make sure that you surround people. Now, I'm not saying surround yourself around the people that just say yes, ma'am, yes, sir, right, to everything you do and say. That's not what we're saying. You really want to be around authentic, genuine people that believe in your abilities and really want to help you succeed, right?
yes,
And I'm going to tell you this, is always going to be less of those than it is, right, and opposite, right? Because you
true
should never really have probably no more than probably 5 people in your close circle,
in your
right? Your,
circle. Yeah.
yeah, because yeah, your inner circle is really, 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 really small,
Mm-hmm.
right? So just keep that in mind.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it's always going to be, you know, everybody always got something to say, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
don't want to like be talking and sharing everything with everybody, because again, everybody's not going to see it. Remember, you know, God told Noah, right, to make the boat,
Yeah.
right? And the reason why the people was like telling Noah he was crazy because it had never rained before.
Right.
They was like,
Right.
Noah, you crazy,
You
right?
crazy,
But
right?
right.
Right.
So everybody was against Noah. You know what I'm saying? Except for his family, right? For a few, right? Oh, but when the water came,
Ah, let me in. Let me in.
right?
Let me
Right.
in. Oh my God. Well,
Yes.
yeah, this has been quite a rousing conversation. Oh
Yes.
goodness. Running
Yes.
from that calling.
Yes.
Um,
The best thing KJ gonna tell you is stop running. The sooner you stop running, right, the sooner, right, goodness, right, can definitely come into your life, right, and that's really the key. So the turmoil, you know, the just craziness, right, that's happening in your life will continue to happen until you surrender,
until
right?
you surrender, and
Yeah.
abundance too comes
Hmm.
with the calling,
That's
because
absolutely.
God has given you everything. He has provided everything for you to
Hmm.
operate in that calling.
That's right.
Yeah, your abundance and provision is there,
Yeah.
as you're answering the calling.
Yes.
Now, pursuing our calling is pursuing your calling is a personal journey,
Hmm.
and not everyone will understand and support it. We already said that, but
Hmm.
it's crucial for you to stay true to yourself and your purpose while maintaining respect for the opinions and concerns of those around you. And we talked
Hmm.
about authenticity before,
Hmm.
and you're going to need that skill as you work towards your calling, that authenticity. And For example, maybe you're being called to work remotely and travel the world for a spell. Pursue that.
Right.
Maybe you're called to music. Pursue that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again, the alchemist says life is truly generous to those who pursue their personal legend, which is their calling.
Yeah.
And over time, some may come to appreciate the significance of your path, while others will not fully grasp it. And that's okay. You said that.
Yeah.
And ultimately, your calling is about your personal growth and fulfillment and reaching your potential. So give yourself permission to pursue your calling. Stop running. Stop running. Yes. Oh, no.
Indeed.
Covered
Yeah.
it.
Terry, did you have any other questions before we go? Terry getting a special session. She was live with us.
Special session. Yes.
Yes.
She said she was going to show up, and she did.
I love it. I love it.
Now, the last thing I want to ask you, KJ, is
yes.
What do you want to big up yourself for? God knows you have a lot of things to big up yourself for. But in this moment, what would you like to big up yourself for? She said, Terry said, no, this has been so rich.
Oh, good. So glad to hear that. Yes. Yes. So what do I want to like maybe congratulate myself for? Celebrate myself for? Well, you know what? I'm going to celebrate early. All right. I'm going to celebrate.
Yes.
So November 10th, right? So a little bit over a month, probably about 6 weeks, KJ will be celebrating her 60th birthday.
Yay! Yes! Yes! Yes!
Yes!
Cheers, girl.
Cheers.
Yes to 60. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Happy birthday when it comes, girl.
Thank you. Thank you. And it was so funny, right? I had this guy approach me this morning at 7-Eleven talking about he wanted to talk to me. Girl, and he was 35. Child, you young enough to be my child.
Oh my God.
Thanks, Terry.
Yeah,
thanks, Terry.
Very nice. I love that.
Yes.
All right. Well, I'm still speechless like that you found time to come and share with us.
You are so welcome.
That you are. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're so welcome.
Yes. And thank you, kings and queens who have been watching or who will watch, for spending this time with us. And see you on the next episode of the Big Up YuSelf Show. And don't forget to like and comment and share, please. See you next time. Karen, can you hold on just a moment for me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Thank you. Bye, Terry.
Bye,
Thank
Terry.
You for coming in.